We'll need to do a couple of things. Make sure that the grip shift is on the smallest cog for the rear derailleur, which in this case is a 7. Then we're going to take out the housing, the cable from the housing, remove the housing, each portion, and we'll cut ourselves some new housing. Make sure you use the right type of housing. Derailleur housing has long strands of wire to stabilize it, extending the length of the housing. This is to resist compression. In this particular case, we're using 4mm housing as opposed to the brake housing, which was 5mm. We have 3 pieces of housing for the rear derailleur. We've removed the ferrules from either end and lined them up with the new housing. And we'll go ahead and mark it. We'll use a little whiteout so we know where to cut. We'll go ahead and cut that with our cable cutters. Alright. We'll make sure the end is round with using our crimpers just to round out the end. Make sure the end is open with using a pick. And we'll use some new ferrules on either end. And replace them on the bicycle. And then we'll start cabling. Alright, we have our shifter set to the lowest setting, which is that is the smallest cog, which is 7. Often on the grip shifts we'll find a place where we can get at the cable. Not so here. We'll need to remove the handle grip and then take apart the grip shift. My favorite way to remove a handlebar grip is to get underneath with a small screwdriver. Take some isopropyl alcohol. You can just dump it in. I happen to have a plastic pipette, but you can just dump it inside. Then just work the handlebar grip back and forth and it'll pop right off. We'll take the washer off. Be careful. Remember to replace it. Now the cable does sit right back here, and we could have just taken it out from this point, but I find trying to re-thread it back in is a chore. It's a little easier if we just remove it. Just pull it easily. There we go. And we'll notice how the cable goes in so we can thread our new one. Let's go ahead and thread our new cable. Place it exactly in the position it was before. Thread the other part into the grip shift. Pull it all the way through. Let's slide it back together. To make sure it works, let's hold the end, turn it back again. The cable seems to move fine. We'll insert our cable, shift cable, into the housing, and as we get towards the end here, we'll put a few drops of lubricant. This is a thin finish line lubricant, and we'll work the cable back and forth so it'll run smoothly. And then go ahead and hook this up. In a similar manner, we'll run it through the rest of the pieces of housing, and again, add a little lube and hook up our cable housing. We'll reinstall our washer and handlebar grip. Place our washer on. We'll add a few drops of ethanol to the grip. Move it around a little bit, and it slides right back on, and the ethanol will evaporate. Before proceeding to hook up the cable, we'll need to check the limiting bolts. This is the high or smallest cog, the low, the largest cog, and make sure the derailleur lines up. We'll go ahead and adjust the high until we can see that the pulley wheel is just to the right hand side of the smallest cog. And then we're going to push the derailleur over to the largest cog. You can see that it's gone a little too far. Let's get it right on that cog. There we go. And we'll adjust the low such that it doesn't go beyond but falls right underneath the large cog. Before we go ahead and attach the cable to the rear derailleur, we'll turn the barrel adjuster on the rear derailleur all the way in, and we'll come out maybe one turn. We'll do the same for the barrel adjuster up by the shifter itself. We'll turn the front barrel adjuster all the way in and then out maybe one turn. Holding the cable firmly, we'll tighten the bolt on the cable of the rear derailleur. Now we'll go ahead and start pedaling and moving the barrel adjuster out until we get a nice smooth shift from the smallest to the next cog. A little hesitation. Turn it out some. Better. Looks good. You may have to adjust the low limiting screw if the pulley wheel does not line up perfectly with the largest cog, and you may need to adjust the high limiting screw such that the pulley wheel lines up just slightly to the right side of the smallest cog. Now we go ahead and cut our cable and add our cable tip. Be on the watch for our next episode of This Old Bike, in which we'll tackle the cabling and housing for the front derailleur. This is Tony at Tony 10 Speed. Safe cycling.